You bob for apples in the toilet, and you like it. You play ball like a girl.
What did you say? You heard me. Tomorrow, noon, at our field. Get the buffalo butt breath.
Count on it, pea-drinking crap face.
You're the best around.
Best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
I need the best.
I had the best words.
Well, I'm the best there is.
The best. We the best.
Have a chance to be the best of the best.
You are now listening to Best of the Best, presented by Radar Studios. Starring two guys who use their middle initial to sound cool. Here are your hosts, Neal E. Fischer and Mark P. Smith.
Hey Neal, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
I was just thinking before we get going, maybe we should give a special shout out to thanks for everyone that's been listening so far and subscribing. We had a previous episode with Brandon Cox, cinematographer, and
Great guy.
Great guy, great interview. I think a lot of people are enjoying that interview, and he was able to get some of his celeb buds to tweet at us, tweet about the show, which is great, including Dave Bautista, who hopefully we can get on the show. We're working towards that.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
Dave, if you're listening, we would love to talk to you.
Yeah, we definitely would love to pick your brain on some of your favorite films. I know Brandon said you had some really good stories that you could share, so
yeah,
we'd love to hear those.
Should we give any... you were saying something about doing a little giveaway?
Yeah, so before we talk about doing a giveaway, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of the people that really engage with us. That really engage with us on Twitter. We're on Twitter quite a bit, but we also post a lot on our Instagram and our Facebook page. But on Twitter, though, we have 3 people that really engage with us quite a bit, for good or bad, depending on how they like the episode, which is great. And one of them is @0_killed, who also feels the need to tweet at us all the time, which is great. But definitely wanted to give a shout out to the Veal Chop for also giving his opinions to us, and then someone that we don't know, and it's sort of our first real fan, I guess we could say, that we don't know, that's reached out, I should say, because I know there's a lot of you out there who listen but don't reach out. But this guy's his name's Ken, and he's at DJ New Style.
Yeah, thanks, Ken.
Yeah, so thanks for reaching out, tweeting us, giving us your opinion.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. You have a website that is hearustalk.com, which is HEARUSTALK.com. A lot of cool podcasts on that website that you guys should check out. But yeah, we appreciate it. But as far as the giveaway, we thought it would be fun if we could get up to 25 iTunes reviews, which is really going to help us just with our searchability and the more episodes we put up here, the more people can listen to us. But if we can get up to 25 reviews, and we need your help, if you haven't reviewed the show yet, please go on iTunes and give us a review. We're going to do a raffle, and one of those 25 people will receive a Radar Studios official T-shirt that we'll send to you.
Yeah, and they're pretty cool. They're designed by one of our designers here, so they're even if you don't know who we are, they're pretty rad shirts. So definitely review, definitely reach out. And remember, if you search for us on iTunes or really anywhere, if you search Best of the Best podcast and then include the word radar in there, it's easier to find us if you can't, if you don't follow us on social media and get links or anything, if you need to just straight up search for us. So we would really appreciate any feedback, any reviews.
Any feedback?
Any feedback? I should have said that for the Chicago, or I should have put that in the Chicago episode. So yeah, that would be great.
We really need your help. So give us some reviews, spread the word around. We haven't really done any marketing, so we're trying to have word of mouth be our main source for marketing. And a lot of you have reached out already. So actually, Mark, someone did reach out to you and was very angry about 1994 episode.
Well, a couple people have actually given us a load of shit for our 1994 episode. There's a lot of controversy with the Forrest Gump commentary we made. I'm going to keep this short, but I will say the flack that we've been receiving is how we picked Lion King to be in the best of the best and Dumb and Dumber. And listen, this is Neal and I's show. This is not the greatest films of all time based on New York Times reviews or Rotten Tomato. This is our opinion, and a lot of the films that we review, yes, they're not Lawrence of Arabia, but they are some of our favorite films, and it's the reason why we wanted to do this podcast in the first place, was to explore all avenues of filmmaking, especially being people that work in the industry and fans. We wanted to explore movies that aren't necessarily given their given their due in terms of great movies. So if you disagree or agree with our list, just hit us up on Twitter
or Instagram
or Facebook or wherever.
Yeah.
We would love to have that debate, but it's I want to squash that. We're not going to add in your favorite indie film to our list, because this is our thing,
right?
This is our opinion,
right?
So,
and Mark has already said if you disagree with him, he will meet you anywhere outside.
Yeah, and further disagree with you.
And further disagree with you. Not fight, but just argue vehemently.
Over coffee.
Over coffee. I will say regarding that, I'm glad people are listening and they're affected by our choices.
And we're not trying to be controversial. We are literally just trying to, whatever's in our heart and what we want to talk about, that's what we say. So
yeah, and we said in the beginning of the show, the first episode, I believe, that we're not gonna crap on movies because they're more artsy or less artsy, and some of these movies are just ones that that we love. And I will say for the record, Back to the Future is better than Forrest Gump, but that was for another episode.
That's fine.
As far as Robert Zemeckis is concerned. But yeah, so I think that's great.
Happy to have that argument.
Yeah, we'll do a whole show on it. But
we should do a whole show on Forrest Gump versus Back to the Future, and just list the pros and cons of each and see who comes out on top. And maybe we have some online.
I think metaphorically, though, you would never get past Forrest being in shackles, and so you would never, like Forrest, how he broke out of his shackles and ran really far. Your argument would stop with him in shackles because you would never get that far. That's what I'm going to say. That's my analogy.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
There would be Jenny yelling, "Run, Forrest, run!" while I was trying to debate.
Which is probably for the better, because if your argument wouldn't go so far, so you wouldn't get AIDS. I mean, Jenny wouldn't get AIDS if you were Jenny. Jenny would still
It's very unclear whether he gets AIDS in that movie or not.
He might have the AIDS. But if he
wore a condom, he might have been okay.
Well, I mean,
he's been in the house.
Do you think he knows? Well, I guess he could wear a condom.
He's not stupid.
He isn't stupid. He
knows what love is.
He knows what love is. You're making him sound stupid now. He knows what love is. Yeah, I actually read an article too about how everyone said that Jenny is like the whole reason that the movie is kind of a heartbreak, just because she like screws him up the whole movie.
Right.
Stringing him along.
It's a great film. We'll talk about maybe we'll have another. We'll have a anytime we have this kind of controversial.
We'll do a little bonus episode.
Film versus another film or something.
A little addendum.
Yeah.
Bonus track.
Yeah.
Subtitle. No.
So segue into our episode today, which is, I guess we'll try to explain it as best we can.
Yeah.
Neal and I had this idea to talk about summertime movies or summertime-based films.
Right.
Because it is summertime, is officially summer, and I said we were just like, hey, what if we did that? Make it a little seasonal. Get you guys started off in summer right with a little summertime movie conversation.
Yeah, you guys might be commuting by foot now, walking to work in the sunlight, need a little podcast in your ear, little iced coffee in your hand, sandals, shorts, skirts, whatever you want to put on. We support it. As long as you're listening only to this episode of Best of the Best, to get us 1,000 downloads and nothing else. And nothing else.
But yeah, I would, I think the parameters for this are, and they're a little looser, I guess, in some regards. But the parameters, at least for me, when I was doing my research, trying to figure out my films to talk about, was summertime-based movies where summer is like the setting and is integral into the film itself, into the story. So that's kind of, doesn't have to be a beach movie or something like that. It's just a summer. It's like summertime is the thing.
Correct.
And if it wasn't summertime, like if it was another season, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same movie. It can't be interchangeable. So
right. I was vetoed. I wanted this whole podcast to be about Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Summer Catch.
Right.
But Mark said that he didn't think we could do a full hour and a half on Summer Catch, which I disagree. But this episode will not just be about that movie. It's going to be about a lot of different movies. So, like Mark said, there's a couple different parameters. We weren't really sure how to nail it down. We didn't want it just to be summer blockbusters, but we wanted movies, that had summer as part of the plot or the title or any of that. So we're trying to include everyone. Here's what we're saying.
Yeah. So when you're when you were a kid, did you partake in summer? Was that something?
I partook in summer because it always came around June and July.
Here's what I'm saying. Did you? I guess let me ask you this: what does summer mean to you, especially like when you're a kid? Like, what is that? Did you look forward to summer? Or are you more of a fall, winter guy? Like, what is your?
No, I love the heat. I like
I
like the sun on my body. I love getting tan, having the warmth. I loved summer because you were out of school. I got to go to my Australian football camp. Would be one thing I would do. I'd be able to go to movies during the day.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. Yeah, every day.
Is that what you said every morning when you showed
No,
up?
no, I never said good day, mate. I'd go to movies during the summer. It was fun. I played baseball and just being able to go outside longer until it was darker out and all that good stuff. And then watching movies outside. I think I'm trying to do that more this summer, or at least I'm going to try to watch some more movies.
Like in the park?
Yeah, but I mean, do it in my own backyard or invite friends over because it's kind of a unique experience.
I haven't heard about this yet, so great.
Well, you weren't invited.
I guess I'm not coming.
You aren't invited. Whoever said that our 1994 episode was bonkers can be invited, and we will show that the complete Three Colors trilogy.
And followed by Back to the Future trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I just liked it because you got more time to do stuff and hang out with friends. But summer, I think what you're asking though, summer does mean bigger movies, louder movies, blockbusters, going to the movies early in the day, getting out when it's still sunny and going and doing stuff. So I love the summer. I think it's it's the best.
What is kind of your earliest memory of like a summer blockbuster movie? Something that like you were really like anticipating, or you left the theater really, really jazzed?
Oh, that's a good question. I would probably say there's two movies that I distinctly remember seeing multiple times. The first one I think I saw maybe 7 times, something like that, was Jurassic Park. I remember going to see it.
It's a great summer movie.
I don't know if it was the first time we saw it was with one of our neighbors was babysitting me and my brother, and she took us. I can't remember if that was the first time, but I just remember going with her. And I just remember it was so loud and like the effects were great and the dinosaurs were awesome. And I wanted to see it right away, right after again. And I think we might have gone the next day and then saw it like 4 or 5 times. And then actually the same thing with Hook before that. When I was a little younger, I saw Hook in the theater a few times as well.
That was a summer movie. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a summer movie. I just know that's the only other one I remember.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Coming out, but definitely Jurassic Park. Okay, I'm way off. Hook was in December, unless it was a re-release, which is possible. But yeah, no, Jurassic Park was...
I definitely remember seeing Jurassic Park. My older brother took me actually to see it. He was a senior in high school, and I think he was kind of forced to take me because he was like having to look after me because my mom, and it was summertime, and I'm sure my mom and dad, because they were working, needed like someone to watch after me. So begrudgingly, my brother would like have to take me to do things, and we went to the movies. And I remember it was so great. And then the raptor scene came where they go in the kitchen, and the film just stopped, and then it burned a hole in it, and it broke.
Oh no!
And they had to give us our money back. And then I had to come back like the next week and like wait in one of those stupid long lines to like see the movie again, because that movie was like such a phenomenon. It was huge. So
when the film broke, did Nedry come up and go say the magic word? Got
Hold
dots
on.
in here.
I said
Dotson.
Yeah, I said hold on to your butts, and then it burned.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
But yeah, for me, it's funny. I've definitely seen. I can't. it came out a little bit later in my life, or like childhood, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie Independence Day, for some reason,
Oh, that's another one. Yeah, I
for
forgot
some
about
reason,
that one.
I remember that really vividly. Like anticipate. I guess that was. I'll say this: it was the first movie that I remember like anticipating. Like I knew it was coming out because they had these huge like things like
ID4.
ID4 everywhere.
Yep, I remember.
To the point where I thought the movie was called ID4. And
I completely forgot about that. That's right.
But then when that movie came out, it was so cool. It was such a big blockbuster type movie.
That was a really big one.
That one sticks out in my mind a lot.
I didn't even think about that one because that one I remember seeing it like in Hillside, Illinois. It was like an old theater that's not there anymore, across from bowling alley, and they had the huge cardboard posters, and it was just a huge deal, big movie.
It was such a big. The marketing blitz on that was insane, and now that I'm talking through it, I guess maybe the earliest memory I have of seeing a blockbuster, like a summer film, and you knew like, oh, this is a big deal because it's summertime, was Batman in '89. I would have been 8 years old.
Right, you're a little bit older than I am, so I was probably too young. I remember Batman Returns, but
but when Batman came out, same thing. It was I got turned on to buy Batman because of the '60s TV shows and the comic books, and I remember I was actually with my uncle and my cousin who was a year younger than me. And he was like, "Hey, we gotta go run some errands. Let's go." It's just the three of us. And then he like surprised us, and we show up in the movie theater. On one side of the theater, one of those big like cineplexes with like 12 screens or whatever it is. On one side of the theater, like the huge outdoor wall, was covered in the bat, like a huge bat symbol, like the one that like couldn't fit on the.
Oh, that's cool.
They made it so big, it couldn't fit on the thing, and that movie was great, and it actually was profound, because it kind of launched me into like wanting to make movies. But I guess that would be my earliest summer blockbuster, big time film memory.
Yeah, and there's so many. I mean, I can't even now. When you said Independence Day, it clicked a memory on in my head, and there's other ones too now that I'm thinking of with Will Smith, like Men in Black was another one.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a real big one.
But nowadays, I feel like, just to like kind of be the old guy talking about summer blockbuster movies, it's different, I guess, because now I'm seeing a lot of animated films because my kids that's what they're like excited about, like Despicable Me 3 coming out,
Heavy Metal,
Cars 3, and but I it's different now. I like anytime I see a so-called summer blockbuster film, like an Avengers movie or some kind of like comic book movie. Usually, like I'll rent them when they come out for home release, and then I'm like, I'm glad I didn't like go see that in the theater. Like, there's a lot of them. I'm just kind of like,
well, they've really
it's not the same impact, and I don't know if it's because I'm older and my perspective is different. But
they've really stretched out the summer blockbuster calendar. I mean, now it's really like May,
right?
May, June, July, August, and then a little into September. So they have a lot of time, and there's just so many blockbusters or movies that want to be a summer blockbuster being released. So it's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
Even though they say that the studio system is dying, I mean they're still releasing movie after movie, and it's not as, I feel like it isn't as big an event as it was in the old days, like when Independence Day really kind of ruled the summer, for that summer, and then other movies that came out too. It was like one movie was really the tentpole that sort of defined that year, I guess.
I feel like Dark Knight was the last one as an adult.
Well,
I saw that I thought was pretty spectacular.
That one, it is a great comic book movie, but it's not. Well, it's a little artsier than your normal blockbuster, but I think
it's a little darker for
a little darker night.
Not a popcorn movie. For sure.
I think the reason that one had so much push behind it is because they did that whole like IMAX, 7-minute intro, which is cool because like that didn't really happen at that point, and I think that had a little bit more anticipation behind it, which is what the summer's all about. It's like, I'm waiting all summer to see, whatever it is, the new Star Wars movie or the new action movie, whatever. And now it's just we have so many comic book movies constantly being released and other movies being released that maybe there isn't that mystique around it anymore.
Yeah, and we're like, we know it's coming out too. We're like,
right.
We're on the internet. We're like, it's coming out on
Right, and well now they're starting their marketing like a year and a half early. I mean. We saw trailers for The Last Jedi, in like Christmas, January time, and
Jurassic World just announced the sequel title, and like everyone, it's like freaking out about just
right.
seeing like a poster with a sequel.
And it's
title.
a year from now.
So before we get in the list, the building that we record in is doing a little construction, so we don't hear it too much. But if you do, we apologize for any kind of any annoyance we may cause by listening to this. Hopefully, our golden voices will carry the conversation enough.
Yeah, we hear it. It's kind of loud in our ears, but we're hoping that the mics are cutting it out a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess segue. Let's start the conversation. I want to throw some stuff on the board.
Okay.
I want to go big right away.
Okay.
Because I have a reason for this. My first film that we put in the discussion for Best of the Best is a movie called Jaws.
Oh, you son of
I
a
don't know
bitch.
if you've heard of it. It's directed by Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg?
He was known then as Stevie. Yeah. So Jaws, it came out in 1975. If you haven't seen Jaws, I don't know how you've been
Living?
getting around this earth for that long. But why I wanted to include it was, one, it's a great summer. It's a movie in twofold. One, it's not technically, but most people consider it the first summer blockbuster film. It's like the movie that kind of started the.
Yeah, I would say most people agree.
That trend, which has been going strong up until now, and also it's a summer-based movie. The setting of it is like basically on Martha's Vineyard, northeastern town, and they're opening the beaches for the summer. And we got a mayor who he's got all this money and tourist dollars coming in. We got a sheriff who's concerned because there's a shark eating people. And they're at odds trying to, the sheriff wants to do the right thing, get the shark. The mayor is like, no, screw it. We're going to,
He wants money.
Yeah, he wants money. Capitalism is ruling.
Yep. Murray Hamilton, great performance by him. Also good in The Graduate.
Yeah, and it's a great modern day Moby Dick type of story. Honestly, if you haven't seen Jaws, it's like, I don't know. I have nothing for you. But one thing I want to say as a side note, as an editor, this movie is important in cinema because the film, as it existed in its first cut, wasn't very good. In fact, it got really bad test audience scores, and I'm going to forget her name right now, which is like not good.
Are you talking about the editor, Verna Fields?
Yes, thank you. So she recut the movie, and
that's what I'm here for.
And thank you, Neal. She recut the film after it got so poorly tested and excluded a lot of the sharks footage that they had and left it more ambiguous, left it more to just the fin scenes and the POV shots of the shark, and left the shark, basically the full shark, until the end. And that completely changed the film, which in turn completely changed how we see summer films. Completely started, like we said, the sort of summer blockbuster revolution. So to me, this film is important in so many ways, and it's also important. The power of editing is, instituted in this case to a degree that it basically jump-started an entire industry in terms of summer blockbuster films. So I'm not saying that the editing is the main reason why we have summer blockbusters, but it's certainly a big, big contribution. So.
Yeah, no, obviously I love Spielberg. This is a huge movie for him. It really catapulted his career after Sugarland Express, and was able to convince people that he knew, how to make a movie. There's a lot of Hitchcockian elements in this one. It's got an amazing cast, of Roy Scheider and Robert Shaw in one of his best roles, and you have Richard Dreyfuss, and I already mentioned Murray Hamilton, who played the mayor, and Lorraine Gray as Ellen Brody.
Swim up and bite you in the ass. Richard Dreyfuss.
But there's just there's nothing bad you can say about this movie. It's just so good. There's so many great sequences. Spielberg has so many great one-ers in this movie. Like when they have the long conversation with the mayor and he's arguing with him about closing the island. They go on that little car ferry, and it's a long one take. But what's nice about it is the camera doesn't move, but the movement of the actors and the blocking in the scene are just brilliant. And so that's really great.
You got the great Hitchcock shot in there.
You have the dolly zoom. Yeah, that's probably I would say that's probably the most famous dolly zoom of all time.
Yeah.
other than Hitchcock, but probably even best Hitchcock on that one because it's Roy Scheider playing Martin Brody when he's on the beach and the first scream happens when they see the shark.
There's a lot of Spielberg techniques in that film that I feel like he still employs. The long staring and that kind of thing.
Yeah, the face shots, long staring. This one is just so great because I think I pretty much watch it every summer, right around 4th of July. I might pair it with like Independence Day. And it feels like summer. It is summer. There's a mystique about this movie, on the East Coast where they have a festival every year where they watch the movie and they talk about it and everything. And just the mythology of the movie. If you don't know anything about the behind the scenes, you have to check it out. There's a documentary called "The Shark Is Still Working" about the mechanical shark that was named Bruce after Steven Spielberg's lawyer that never worked. So what that afforded Spielberg is he really had to flex his filmmaking chops because the shark wasn't working, and he had to go into his toolbox and figure out a way to create suspense, without the shark working. And then obviously with the addition of what Mark said, Verna Fields, the editor, it just turned it into a great movie. Some people may have read the book by Peter Benchley, but what I will say is this movie is so influential on many different levels, but any documentary, any behind the scenes, any interviews with actors or just regular people, everyone always goes, "Oh, I was afraid to go in the water because I saw Jaws," or "I'm afraid of sharks because of Jaws." And what this movie did for not only phobias, but it affected the entire population of America and around the world after seeing the movie of not wanting to go in the water because they were afraid of sharks, which I know that
I can't even go in a pool sometimes. At night because I'm afraid Jaws is in the pool.
Well, Jaws at night only attacks naked blonde women with long hair. So you're fine.
I'm fine. Okay.
Who are skinny dipping. But yeah, no, I was just going to say, just the impact it had on society and the zeitgeist is undeniable.
Positively and negatively, if you think about it.
Yeah, really positively and
in terms
negatively,
of like the science community trying to promote this idea that like great whites and sharks aren't killing machines as we've seen in movies, but we keep perpetuating that myth in all these films. So.
Yeah, and I think it's, there aren't as many shark attacks per year as many people think. I mean, they're bad, obviously, but there's not that many. But having that fear of not going into water because of a shark is pretty prevalent. But the last thing I'll say about it is I could go on all day talking about this movie. It's one of the best of all time, one of Spielberg's best. I would just immediately put it in the top 5. I'm not sure where it's going to be yet, but that's just me. So that's up to you, but we can at least leave it on the board if you want.
Yeah, Jaws is great. And like you said, the one thing I'll tag on to that too is Spielberg, for all, I think a lot of people that even like films don't like Spielberg's movies, and I think that's hogwash. I think like not everything he does is great, but he's one of the best multi-genre directors of our time. And I think because of that shark not working and because of a lot of the sort of fantastic elements of it, he really casted some great actors and really got a lot of great performances out. I mean, one of the best scenes in that movie doesn't involve the shark. It's just the three of them on the boat.
Oh, and they're singing?
Drinking, and then telling those crazy stories. And then when...
I got this scar. Yeah.
And when... why does his name escape me right now? Robert
Shaw?
No.
Richard Dreyfuss?
Sorry, you're Robert Shaw.
Yep.
When he talks about being in the Navy and being on the USS Indianapolis or whatever it was, and
chilling
in the water, and then just like he tells that story so well, you can picture it. You can picture these guys like getting eaten, picked off by sharks, and it's a great scene, and that's a lot of credit goes to Spielberg and those dudes. So good movie.
Yeah, and I guess moving on, if you're gonna throw one, on the board right away, instead of doing any honorable mentions, which is fine. We're getting down to business. What else are you gonna do? I'm gonna throw one that is from 1993. I think this movie just oozes summer. It harkens back to a time when you're a kid. It reminded me of when you told me of, what did you do in the summer? It involves, summer crushes, and it involves sports. It involves, spending time with your family, 4th of July fireworks, picnics, just all the good stuff about summer that when you watch a movie like this, it takes you back, even if you watch it in the winter, and that movie is 1993's The Sandlot.
Ooh.
Love The Sandlot. If you don't know the story, it's in the 60s. There's a new kid who's coming into town, and there's like this just amazing baseball player who lets him come play with him and his friends, and it's sort of their adventures playing baseball, dealing with the preppy assholes, going to the local pool where all of them have crushes on the famous Wendy Peppercorn, which famous in terms of the story, I should say. But I guess she is famous though too. I mean, everyone loves Wendy Peppercorn.
Yeah.
Played by Marley Shelton. But yeah, this is just a great movie. It's got that great, 1960s nostalgia about it. A great soundtrack. You have some really good performances, like Dennis Leary plays the main character's dad, who's kind of a little bit of a surprising role for him. He's not obviously singing his asshole song or cracking jokes.
He's actually his stepdad, isn't he?
Yes.
Because they have like a hard time like connecting or something, right? Because like Dennis Leary's into sports and the other guy's not really. And
yes.
Am I mistaken in
that? No, you might be right about that. And then actually Karen Allen is his mom.
Yep.
From Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is his stepfather. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great Americana though.
It
screams America.
Total Americana. I mean, the whole mythology of Babe Ruth, and then they have that great little scene with Art LaFleur coming in through his closet, talking to him. Just so many good performances. I mean, just the names of the characters. I mean, you have Ham, who's played by Patrick Renna. He's the one who says, "You guys play like girls." You have Squints, who's the one who. Right. The famous scene where he on purpose tries to drown and until Wendy Peppercorn takes him out and he French kisses her. And then she respects him though. That's what the important part of it is.
Right.
I feel like it would be creepy if he just did it, then they ran away and they're like little assholes. But the fact that like she kind of, gave him a little smirk or a wink and is like, wow, that kid had balls.
Yeah.
Shriveled because of the pool, but definitely had balls.
This is a great boy movie though too. I don't know how if you're a
it is a boy movie. You're right.
You're
right.
And how you feel about this movie, but growing up, this is definitely a coming of age movie, but it's definitely boy centric. I love this film. It's on my list. It's a shame you took it from me, but I did go hard with Jaws, so hats off to you.
Well, you did steal. You did steal Jaws.
But yeah, this movie is great. It's a great watch. It's funny though. The director, what's his name, David Mickey Evans, hasn't really made much since this movie, which is crazy because I feel like this is. I don't know how.
Excuse me, Beethoven's third and fourth.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this movie box office wise was a huge success, but it's a movie that you cannot ask anyone in our age and they haven't heard of it or / love this movie. So it's surprising that he didn't do much, he did Sandlot 2 or whatever, but I never watched that. So
no, I didn't want to taint the original, and I just think, like I was saying, this movie oozes summer. It's about summer vacation, about spending time with your friends, and you can't get a better movie than that. And like you said, I know it is a boy movie, but
You're killing me, Smalls.
That's a great movie.
The s'more scene.
You know what? I feel like I always wanted a pair of what are they? PF Flyers.
Oh right, yeah.
What was his name? Who's the? Oh man,
the Jet.
Yeah, Benny the Jet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez,
right.
Benny the Jet. Yeah. Then they have that great scene when they're like both older, and the guy's like the announcer.
The sweet stash.
Yeah, and Benny is playing on the Dodgers. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sandlot. Want to put it on the board?
Good pick.
Great summer movie.
What
do you got? That's actually number 1 and 2 on my list here of things I wanted to talk about.
And we're
Jaws
done.
and the Sandlot, and the podcast is over.
And we're done. Great pick. I think we got some heavy hitters there. I might have to continue the heavy hitting trend.
Okay. Instead of doing honorables.
Well, I'll throw in a couple honorables that I don't think.
Okay.
You tell me. You might say they're worthy of being a best of the best, but One Crazy Summer by Savage Steve Holland, who we had profiled a little bit before with
Diane Franklin.
And the movie
Better Off Dead.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My memory is failing me today. This movie is, I'm not going to include in the best of the best, but it's definitely a great summer movie. Not just because it has the title in the title, but it stars a young John Cusack, a young Demi Moore,
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Bobcat
Goldthwait.
Exactly. Curtis Armstrong. Also, we've spoken about on and Better Off Dead as well, and Revenge of the Nerds. It's just a great. It's a bizarre.
Very weird.
It's a bizarre movie.
Yep.
I can always remember because he's a cartoonist, like aspiring cartoonist. So when he's drawing cartoons, they animate some of the cartoons he does. So there's like these weird like interludes where there's a cartoon. And then there's like the classic like Teddy, who's like the popped collar 80s asshole guy, and his dad are trying to like basically like build a nursing home where Demi Moore's family the property is, and she comes to town to try to save it, and it's a love story. It's a summer movie. It's funny. It came on TV a lot, and that's probably why I saw it. But I'll mention that real quick. Another one I'll throw in the sort of honorable mentions before I hit my big one is Summer School, directed by Carl Reiner.
Oh yeah, I was gonna put that one on there. Yeah, Mark Harmon.
Yeah, this movie I watched a lot as a kid for some reason. I love the two horror movie freak guys, the guys that were in like horror movies and stuff, and they do like that weird prank when they go to like a petting zoo or something, and they make it seem like all the rabbits have been killed or whatever. Did you see that?
Yeah, yep, that's basically us. Yeah.
But that movie, I loved that movie when I was a kid. I always thought it was kind of creepy that like the summer school teacher kind of had like a thing with the girl. What's her name from?
Kirstie Alley?
No,
Courtney Thorne-Smith?
Yeah. Then in the movie, then they have a thing, or am I thinking of?
I can't remember it unless you just wanted them to have a thing.
And then there was another kid who was like supposed to be in high school, but he was a stripper at night. And he was like always tired in class. They were like, "Hey, why are you always sleeping in my class?" And he was like, "No." And then like he finally finds out that he's like a stripper. Like he goes to the like male strip club and he's a stripper. It's a weird movie. I like I said, it came on TV a lot. I guess I think it was on HBO or something. We used to record movies from there. And but yeah, I just wanted to. I think it's a good honorable mention. I did not realize that Carl Reiner directed this movie until.
Until you did your research?
Yeah, until I was, like I didn't care about who directed Summer School, but it's kind of interesting that's and Carl Reiner is old. Like he was like 60 years in his 60s when he made this movie. So
yeah, I mean he's been around a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I can say about those two movies. I think they're worth a watch if you like 80s comedies. I think you can do a lot worse than Summer School or One Crazy Summer for sure. Okay, so for my next entry to the discussion, to be on the board, to be in the mix, whatever you want to call it, still haven't quite settled on that. We need to copyright that though at some point because we're gonna have T-shirts that are gonna say either on the board or in the mix. I'm not.
Yeah, tell us in your review hashtag in the mix or hashtag on the board.
So next movie to consider is came out in 1986. Mm-hmm. Ironically, directed by Carl Reiner's son, Rob Reiner, and that movie is Stand By Me.
Nice choice.
I did not plan that transition from Carl Reiner to Rob Reiner, but it happened to work out, so there you go. Yeah, this movie, kind of in the Sandlot vein, is another boy coming-of-age story. You have the gone way too soon River Phoenix, Corey Feldman,
Jerry O'Connell, Will Wheaton, Kiefer Sutherland, and just a great
just terrible.
I can't.
Yeah, shitty older brother.
Yeah,
River Phoenix's older brother. But the whole movie basically stems around that they heard there's a boy who went missing. That there's actually a body. That they heard from River Phoenix's brother, played by Kiefer. So they go on this journey to find this body, and the movie is. Am I right? It's based on the short story called The Body. Am I right?
Well, it's based on the novella called The Body,
right?
Which included
by Stephen King,
right? I'm sorry. It's called The Body, but it's in different seasons, is what it's called. It's a collection.
It's in the compilation, right? With Shawshank.
It's Shawshank, Apt Pupil, and The Breathing Method.
Right. So great soundtrack, and I should say, like I said, like Sandlot. Sorry, I'm jumping all over it. It is a coming age story about kids. It takes place in the 50s, I think, actually, or maybe the early 60s. It might be the same time period.
It's right at the end of the 50s. Yeah, it's by Labor Day.
So the movie has a lot of themes because it's about these kids, and it's a little bit of a darker tale, especially compared to a movie like Sandlot, which is more of a feel-good type of thing, but it explores what it's like to be a kid and like growing up, especially a boy, and like having fears, and you kind of get a taste of all of these kids and their upbringing, like who their parents are and how it's affected them, which I think is really interesting. And there's a real sadness to like River Phoenix's character, who's, you know, his brother's a fuck up, and he's like, I know I'm going to be a fuck up. And Corey Feldman's dad is like is a military, like a ex, whatever. He's a military guy who has complications and some kind of, it sounds like some mental instability. And Corey Feldman sort of echoes that. And then you have Will Wheaton, who's the author, who is Richard Dreyfuss as an adult, who narrates the film, and you actually see at the end. And he's kind of written the story and he's telling it, and everyone knows that he's the sort of chosen one of the group who's like got the talent and the ability to kind of transcend the small town and make it, you know. And you're kind of rooting for him and his friends, and they get into a lot of, you know, every scene has its own little sort of kind of problems they have to navigate between, like the leeches, you know, escaping the train that's barreling down on them as they cross over that bridge. And you know, it's like I said, terrific soundtrack. It's a timeless movie. You can watch it in any era, and I think it's effective. And I think it's a great summertime film, and especially because a lot of what's so, I think, kind of poignant and kind of sad about it too is that they go off. You know, they're all going to go off to different schools and stuff at the end of the movie. This is kind of like a last adventure with all four of them together. And sort of in the same way like Goonies is, kind of like where they're like afraid of everyone's going to move and stuff. And
that seems to be a lot of a big theme in all these movies that have kids in them, especially in the summer. I think that's another thing about summer too, though, that you asked me what, you know, do you remember about summer? When you're getting older, if you're in 8th grade, I'm going to be going to high school. As a freshman now, everyone's might be going to different high schools.
Yeah.
When you're a senior in high school, I'm going off to college or going off to work, and I'm not going to be friends with the same people, or you're worried that you're not going to be friends with the same people. So there's a lot of themes going on there.
Changes, yeah,
a lot of life changing things. Summer really is about change too. I mean, even if you're not going to high school, not going to college, but you know, when you're a kid or a young adult, a lot of things happen in summer. Kids might get a job, they might move, different, you know, big life events can happen. So. This movie definitely touches on all that. It has a nice darkness to it, sort of a juxtaposition of the Sandlot there. I love the scene on the railroad trestle. When they're walking, it's just, you know, beautifully shot.
Just when he drops the comb and he's like, "Why are you picking? You have no hair."
It's great. Oregon is shot beautifully by Rob Reiner. And then I love the quote when they're around the campfire and Jerry O'Connell. Is going, if I could only have one food for the rest of my life, it would be cherry Pez. No question about it. Cherry Pez. So that was really good too.
And the story they tell about the guy who threw up on everyone after eating the pie contest is pretty great. It's a great movie all around. And there's some themes in it that are really, really quite tragic and kind of beautiful, and great Kiefer movie. He doesn't have a lot of scenes in the movie, but
he doesn't shoot anyone or you know, take bombs
or turn
away,
into
but
a vampire.
but he's really good in it.
But I will say real quick too, Carl Reiner, along with Spielberg, I think is one of those guys that's a multi-genre kind of guy that can do a lot of different things.
You mean Rob Reiner?
Sorry, Rob Reiner. Going back to his dad again. Rob Reiner, who directed Stand By Me, for the record, is another one of those guys I think that can do a lot of different types of films. This being one of his best. I mean, and then you have This is Spinal Tap, obviously, When Harry Met Sally,
Princess Bride,
Few Good Men, Princess Bride, all different movies. Misery, all different films that have, but are really well crafted. So, hats off to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just to keep things moving along here, I'm going to do a few.
Cool. I'll shut up, Neal. It's fine. Fuck my movie.
I'm going to do a couple honorable mentions here. I know a lot of you are going to say that many of the films of the 50s, 60s, and 70s deserve to be on this list. Quite famously, America released a lot of great surf movies, beach movies. You have Beach Blanket Bingo in 1965 with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon, sort of the biggest stars in their day. You can go to Gidget with Sandra Dee in 1959, who the girls sing about in Grease. Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee. But I'm just going to name a few here that some of you might know, some of you might not. Ingmar Bergman, obviously sort of known as one of the artsiest directors, one of the most accomplished directors. He actually had two movies. One was called Summer Interlude in 1951, and the other one that's a little bit better, I think, is called Summer with Monica. It was about sort of a sexy summer affair with the actress Harriet Anderson, shot by Gunnar Fischer, no relation. But another person I want to talk about really quickly here is a Japanese director that a lot of people forget about, I feel like. They talk about Kurosawa, who is great. He's one of my favorite directors. But this guy also is one of my favorite directors. His name is Yasujiro Ozu. So he did a lot of films actually that had seasonal theme titles. He did Early Spring, Late Autumn, The End of Summer. One of them I really like is called Early Summer, and it's from 1951. I definitely recommend checking some of his movies out. Ozu, O-Z-U. And if you want to learn more about him, you should go to YouTube. There's a video essay called The Depth of Simplicity. And it's just a great cross-section of understanding him as a filmmaker. You talk about American filmmakers, like Hitchcock, Spielberg, Scorsese. He's in there as far as Japanese directors are. You have Kurosawa, you have Ozu, and then there's a couple other directors that a lot of people seem to forget about. And Ozu is just one of them that I really like. And along with him is Kenji Misoguchi, who did Ugetsu, which is another great movie. But you can find all that stuff on Criterion, I'm sure. But the last one, someone who sort of echoes Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, is Jacques Tati. He's famous for playing this character, Monsieur Houlet. And there's a movie called Monsieur Houlet's Holiday. It's from 1953. He's just a sort of a comedic genius from France. He's sort of, like I said, a Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin, where he was the writer, he was the actor, he was the director. Just a really funny guy. There's some if you want to watch some old comedy, some old movies with physical comedy, definitely check out Monsieur Houlet's Holiday. It's on Criterion. Not going to be in this list, though. I just wanted to mention it. Honorable mention. I'm going back to the past.
I like that little history lesson.
I just threw a lot at you guys there. I talked fast, but make sure you check some of those out if you like old movies, if you want to learn a little bit more about it.
I'm quite impressed with your Japanese and French pronunciations. So
I kind of butchered them, but like I said, I'm pre-migraine right now, so anything could happen. Post-migraine, though, if I would have taken my medicine,
you just be asleep.
I'd either be asleep or I'd just be saying things that I would regret. So my next addition into the mix on the board.
Let's do it. What is it?
I'm really excited about this, and I'm going to tell you why.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Okay.
Give me a guess.
What year has it come out?
You want to know the year it came out?
Yeah.
It's probably going to give it away, but it came out in 1987.
Dirty Dancing.
It is Dirty Dancing. Mark's on my computer.
Yeah, sorry.
So the reason I'm excited about this one is Mark talked about how The Sandlot, Stand By Me are sort of boy movies. A lot of people think Dirty Dancing is a girl movie, but it's not. They sort of write it off and say, "Oh, Dirty Dancing, what a chick flick!" Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Grey dancing, blah blah blah. It's a girl movie. It's not a girl movie. Dirty Dancing is I think, talking about it seriously for a moment, one of the most influential movies of the '80s. Not only for Patrick Swayze. For Jennifer Grey, because it sort of made her a star. We talked about her a little bit in the Chicago episode that she was in, Ferris Bueller. But this movie is just really well done. You have a family who goes to their summer in the Catskills. They go to the resort every summer, and it's very routine. They have really vanilla dance lessons. They have the dining hall that you go to every day. Jennifer Grey has her strict father, played by Jerry Orbach, who's just really great in that role. And then you have Marjorie Houseman, her mom, who's played by Kelly Bishop from Gilmore Girls, who are the Gilmore Girls mom and grandma, respectively. But this movie, like I was saying, a lot of people say it's a girl movie, but a lot of people don't realize it. You know, it was written by a woman who at the time was having trouble getting this movie made. She wrote this script. She really believed in it. And she actually sent this script to all these different production companies with a soundtrack, basically, that had all the music that she wanted to be included in this movie. This is another movie with just an amazing soundtrack of 60s songs, of some other hits too, obviously, like Time of Your Life. But so the funny story about Eleanor Bergstein. I've been waiting for so long. Okay. So Eleanor Bergstein.
This could be love. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So Eleanor Bergstein would send this script out with the soundtrack, and all these male producers were like, "No one's going to like this movie. You know, men are the ones who we need to look out for, and we're not going to make your movie. We don't like it. Can you send me another one of your mixtapes?" Because they loved the soundtrack so much. But it is a great story that the movie did get made, and no one wanted to make the movie, and when they did make it, it was just a massive success. It made a ton of money. Yeah. It only cost $6 million to make, and I believe the gross was like somewhere like 225 or something, like over 200 million. But the last few things I'll say about it before I throw it back to you, I think it's influential for a few reasons, because something that the 80s did that we don't do anymore, because I feel like our filmmaking has gotten quite conservative. Even though there is a huge indie market, there's a lot of young filmmakers who are representing their voice, the voice of the people that they want to see these movies. A lot of them are still very conservative, because in the 80s, you had topics that, some movies today won't even touch. Like in this movie, abortion is a huge issue in the movie.
Yep.
And it was a really great moment to see that you had Jake Houseman, who is Baby's dad, and he's very strict. He's a doctor, coming in, telling the young lady, like, look, you went and got an abortion from someone who wasn't a trained professional. You could have hurt yourself badly, but he didn't get angry at her for having an abortion.
Right. He
just said, make better decisions about what you're going to do and all that. And it was just a really hot button topic at the time. And I mean, it still is. It always will be. But this movie really, I think, handled it the right way. Johnny Castle, played by Patrick Swayze, is just a great presence in this movie, because he is just a cool character. He's a great dancer, but he, I don't know, he just sticks up for Baby, I think, and really helps her grow. And this whole movie takes place in the summer. It's about like growing in the summer, becoming an adult, and finding your own, personality, your own voice with all the characters. And I don't know. I just think it's a really great movie. I think it's underrated. I think a lot of people write it off for being a chick flick, but it's not. And it's just one of Swayze's best. So,
yeah, I agree with all that. I had it on my list as well. And I would say in how summertime theme, like you said, I think Jennifer Grey's character is like finding herself, and like you said, trying to find her voice and realizing what it's like to be like a woman, because she's like, they kind of treat her as like, oh, she's a little girl.
Right. I mean, her name, Baby, it's representing that
right.
she's always going to be a little kid.
She's emphasized, and her parents have strict control over her, and then she meets this guy who really sees her full potential as not only a woman but a human being, and helps her grow. And I think there's an interesting sort of like summertime romance about it that is like how Grease starts. Like Grease kind of starts with that, John Travolta and what's her name?
Yeah, Olivia Newton-John when they're at the beach.
Yeah. And they talk about this like, great summertime romance. And this is, in that vein, in terms of, Baby and Patrick Swayze's character. And like you said, great soundtrack. It's a classic movie.
Yeah, and I one of my friends, Dave, who I write with sometimes, we reenacted the dance move, the jump where they catch, where he caught me
in the water.
So I have a video of that. I might share it. We'll see. If enough people tweet at us, I will share that video of me doing
please
Baby's
tweet.
dance move.
And also this movie has started a whole. I mean, it's the interesting story about how it was hard to get this script sold and made.
Yeah.
Especially now that it's been sequelized and Broadwayized too. So.
Right. Yeah, it's been on Broadway. The remake is terrible. I don't know why they remade this movie. Like a TV movie, nonetheless.
And they're making
with Abigail Breslin, and then they made Havana Nights, and then poor Patrick Swayze had to like cameo in it, I'm sure, because they forced him.
Yeah.
Not as Johnny, but as just a dance instructor. But yeah, I mean, true story basically from Eleanor Bergstein. Her father was really strict, and they would go to the Catskills as well. And I believe she was also nicknamed Baby too. Great history here, so look up some behind the scenes of this movie before the next time you watch it.
Jennifer Grey, if you're listening, the old nose is better.
Yeah, the old nose was better. She's still very pretty. She was really, really cute in this movie. I mean, her and Penny, who's in the film. But yeah, she's really cute in this movie, and I just love the scene every time I see it of her going to that shack or whatever it is, and that the dirty dancing, I guess, the title dancing is going on.
The watermelons.
And she has the watermelon, yeah, and she brings the watermelons in, and it's just kind of like, what's in this thing? And then it's sort of a good representation of how she's basically being exposed to the outside world.
Yeah.
Like not just her parents' house.
Yeah.
And those
not being
doors.
confined anymore.
Right. Those
very
doors.
much like Footloose.
It is, yeah. It's kind of like Footloose. Yeah, it's better than Footloose, but very similar.
A little jab at Footloose, like it.
Footloose is fine. But how about Kevin Bacon does his own dancing like Patrick Swayze did? I guess he can't. Sorry, Kevin Bacon.
Oh, I guess Kevin Bacon might explore that more in our Everyman episode.
We will. What do you got?
Let me see. Let me throw another couple honorable mentions. I don't have anything highfalutin.
Is this Ernest Goes to Camp?
Yeah. Ernest Goes to Camp.
Okay.
Actually, I should have put that on the list. If you are going to watch any Ernest movie, real quick, do watch Ernest Goes to Camp.
No. You have to watch
Ernest Goes to Jail?
No. You have to watch the Ernest Halloween movie, Ernest Scared Stupid.
Okay.
You have to watch that.
Well, those two.
So my friends and I, real quick side tangent, we were watching a couple movies, and I was like, oh, everyone's got to watch Ernest Scared Stupid. It's the best one. It's the Halloween one. You remember when the trolls attack the village, and the only way you can beat them is with milk? And my one friend hadn't seen it. And he goes, don't spoil Ernest. Like spoilers. And I was like, if you're angry that I'm spoiling Ernest Scared Stupid.
Like that's the pun with the milk, too.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was very smart about that. I have a ringing in my ear. Do you have one?
No.
Am I just going insane?
Yeah.
I'm also seeing birds around your head. And the ghost of John Wilkes Booth behind you. Okay, continue.
So here's a few films I want to mention real quick. Like I said, not going to be highfalutin like Neal and his.
Not going to be any of them highfalutin movies.
Japanese directors and Ingmar Bergman.
Hey, we could talk about Ingmar Bergman and Ozu in the same breath. No, Ernest Scared Stupid.
No, I appreciate it. I'm just saying.
Did you know Ingmar Bergman directed Ernest Scared Stupid?
I did not know that. One fun fact.
Don't IMDb that because it'll be a different answer for everyone.
So before I get to my other one, I'll throw in the mix. I definitely want to mention What About Bob in 1991, directed by Frank Oz. Now, this one was on the outside edge of my summertime themed basis because it is summertime themed, and it is a bigger part of the setting because because if you haven't seen the movie, it's basically about it's one of Bill Murray's greatest performances, honestly. But he is a fun-loving, interesting man who has some psychological issues. He meets a psychologist, a real famous one, in Richard Dreyfuss, and Richard Dreyfuss actually helps him. And he's like, and he basically hunts Richard Dreyfuss down, his family, who are like well-to-do New Yorkians who spend their summertime in Martha's Vineyard, kind of. And he tracks him down, and basically because he can't essentially go a day without talking to Leo Marvin, who Richard Dreyfuss plays. So the only reason I wanted to mention it is for a summertime movie because the setting is kind of I think important that they are having a sort of family summertime situation that he ends up disrupting. Mm-hmm. And he befriends the family, and they all love him. But Richard Dreyfuss is like, this kook has to get out of here. And it's honestly, like I said, one of Bill Murray's best performances. So I want to throw it out there. If you haven't seen What About Bob, you have to see this movie. It's a brilliant performance by William Murray.
William Murray.
And another one with William Murray is a movie called Meatballs. Another one I'd like to add, not to the mix per se or on the board, but just kind of throw it out there. We might have mentioned this before in our
Give it a little love.
sex comedies.
I think we did.
talk
Yeah,
about?
we mentioned it briefly.
Directed by Ivan Reitman, another great 80s director. Well, more than 80s director, but a guy who made a lot of hits in the 80s. This being one of his earlier ones. This is very reminiscent of what Wet Hot American Summer kind of is.
Yeah, Wet Hot American Summer kind of I think took quite a bit from Meatballs.
But it's a great sex comedy 80s kind of raunchy movie, also starring Bill Murray. It's worth a watch. There's sequels to it, I believe, too, but the first one I think is that, am I right on that?
Yeah.
The first one is the one to see, and then one more I'll mention to put out there. It's a movie that we watched a lot as a kid, and that's The Great Outdoors.
I used to watch it all the time as a kid too, which is funny.
Directed by Howard Deutsch, who directed Pretty in Pink. It's written by John Hughes. John Hughes makes it into our movie conversation a lot, rightfully so. It stars Dan Aykroyd and John Candy, who are brothers.
Annette Bening too.
Right, Annette Bening. They are diametrically opposed in a lot of ways, and they end up sharing a summer vacation together and living in a cabin. And basically, hijinks ensue. There's like a nice teen kind of love story in there. There's a famous scene where John Candy takes down the old 96er, which was
That's
like
a great. I love that
96
scene.
ounce steak, whatever. He gets it for free if he can finish the whole thing. But yeah, like the central plot of that movie is Dan Aykroyd's character is kind of a well-to-do business guy from Chicago, and John Candy's more of the salt of the earth brother who's kind of not he's not enamored with his brother and all his like kind of rich, sort of rich fancy lifestyle, and they have a real, I think they kind of like have they are diametrically opposed, but they end up in the end, kind of sharing this, this kind of crazy summer with their family, and it's definitely like broad comedy '80s, hijinks ensue. It's not a John Hughes film in the sense of, having some sort of like darker or not darker, but like sort of more deeper, meaningful message. It's definitely like a screwball kind of comedy.
Yeah, they have a great scene with the bear. And the bear. It's cool that it's in Wisconsin too, which is you can just like see some of the stuff happening because you can just drive right over the border to Wisconsin. So I used to watch this one a ton as a kid too, and I'm forgetting everything about it. But there's like the jet, or not the jet ski, but like the water ski moment.
Right,
there's
right.
the bear. There's the 96er. I'm gonna have to rewatch
It's
this
got
one.
some great like comic pieces in it.
It does, yeah.
It's remember the raccoons? Every time they show them, they have their little theme music and they have subtitles.
Yeah. That was good.
It's great. It's
probably where the Geico commercial ripped it off, right?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even think about that until now.
Totally true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
But we'll still take Geico work.
Hey Geico, check us out. Staying in that same lane, this is what I'm going to put on the board, and that is a movie that was profound in my family, and I'm sure in a lot of people's family.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my list, and I was trying to pick one that would be profound in your family, but was not profound whatsoever. But sorry, continue. I was going to say, go ahead.
No, what were we going to say?
No. I just want to hear what you're going to say.
Okay. So this is National Lampoon's Vacation, directed by Harold Ramis, starring Chevy Chase.
Oh, I forgot about that one on my list.
This movie started off a franchise, which is not all great. I will say the Christmas one is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Maybe the best, in my opinion. We'll have to get to that when Christmas time comes around. But the first National Lampoon's Vacation, where they travel from Chicago to California to go to Wally World, is such a terrific film. It's so funny on every level. It's hilarious to this day. Chevy Chase, one of his, I guess he did the Fletch movies before this, but this is definitely one of his like cemented in kind of history breakout, whatever you want to call it, like portrayals in terms of playing Clark W. Griswold. I love the family truckster. When I was a kid, I thought that car was so cool, and now that if I watch it as an adult, I'm like, that car is so ridiculous. It's insane. but they it's just it's hilarious. It's the kids are funny. They change in every movie, but the original Michael wait no.
Well, there's Clark is Chevy Chase,
Yeah,
and
sorry.
then Beverly D'Angelo, his wife, is Ellen. But then you have
Yeah.
Rusty, who in this version was Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall. Thank you.
And also Johnny Galecki from Big Bang Theory and Ethan Embry from
30 Rock. No,
I'm sorry, from
what's her name from 30 Rock is in this movie though too. As a kid.
well, yeah, Jane Krakowski is
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it. She's their cousin Vicky,
Yeah.
Randy Quaid's kid.
Randy Quaid. Yeah, I think Randy Quaid. He's not been in like a lot of great stuff, but this is his character. Cousin Eddie is one of the most, sort of, I'm sure, most memorable, profound of characters he's played. And
Can hardly wait. Sorry, Ethan Embry. That was really killing me.
yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But like I said, directed by Harold Ramis, of Ghostbusters fame and a lot of films as an actor, and
So many great moments
and
too, like with the grandma in the
Stripes.
car.
Yeah.
They drive like John Candy cameo at Wally
he
World.
bites into the sandwich, has been pissed on by the dog. Or
Oh
whatever.
God, there's so many good moments in this movie.
They leave. They tie the dog to the bumper.
Or like, what city are they? Are they in Detroit when they go and he asks for the
St.
directions?
Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah, he has.
East St. Louis.
Yeah, he asks for
Roll 'em up.
directions.
Yeah, there's a lot of great. I like Great Outdoors. This is such a quintessential summer movie. And
Yeah.
like I said, giving our theme of summertime films, this one, because it's a road trip, that's part of the fun of this movie is encountering new areas, new sort of demographics of the country, and it's just great. I love it. Very funny movie.
No, really great. And we're actually forgetting too. We didn't mention Christy Brinkley.
Right,
In that famous role.
Scene. Yeah, that's a very famous scene. Yeah.
Yeah, just that whole thing.
Couple scenes. The pool. Well, yeah, the pool scene. The
Her driving by.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, great movie. Spawned, a pretty long franchise. But
Yeah, even the remake. If you haven't seen the remake, I was kind of bummed that they made one, but it's funnier than you'd think. It's with Ed Helms and Christina Applegate, and it's worth a watch. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to do a few honorable mentions before I put mine on the board. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Phillippe, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Quick side tangent story on that one. When I was a younger man, I used to have a huge crush on Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt. So this movie was sort of tearing me from the insides because I didn't know which direction to go. But Jennifer Love Hewitt was the ingenue, the lead, so I kind of leaned toward her in this film. But what's funny about this one was when I was in, I forget when it came out, when I was in like maybe 7th or 8th grade.
Well, you're younger than me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little younger than you. It was 97, so that would have been 2 years before I graduated, so sixth grade or so, 7th grade. One of the kids had a bootleg copy of this, I believe on VHS actually, which is really funny. And I remember we went to his house by the Forest Preserve, and all of us like kids were just like huddled into this room watching the worst like rip of I Know What You Did Last Summer ever, and it was bad, but enjoyed the movie though. So that's an honorable mention there. That one, also I should say, think about like all-star casts now of like either romantic comedies or horror movies or whatever. At the time, having Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Jennifer Love Hewitt in one movie is insane. Like just the star power of that movie. So that's honorable mention. I know
Especially Freddie Prinze Jr. because that guy his staying power has been amazing.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude. If you follow him on Twitter, he's a nice guy. Are you trying to make a joke about Freddie Prinze Jr.? Oh,
yeah.
Well, he's a good husband to Sarah Michelle Gellar. He's a big gamer too. If you're an Xbox guy, he's online playing games all the time. Camp Nowhere, I know I mentioned before. Another movie where I just had crushes on all the actresses in, and one of them turned out to be Jessica Alba and Christopher Lloyd, great performance. Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I actually enjoy that movie quite a bit. That one's sort of about young women finding themselves and how their friendship is going to be changing and evolving. And along those lines of women and their relationships and how they're changing now and then is also kind of a fun one for me. I don't know if you remember that one.
I've never seen those movies.
Yeah, they're good. I recommend them.
I remember the Traveling Pants got rented at Blockbuster a lot.
Yeah, it was on TV one day, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll watch this, and I had no expectations. Or
And now you and I change pants all the time.
we do.
Yeah.
Well, I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You do Tuesday, Thursday, and then I drive to you on Saturday.
Yeah, they're a little baggy on you. pretty tight.
Yeah,
on me.
well, but I know, but you chose them to be leather, and what I do is I kind of like have a hair dryer and I go over them a little bit, and they shrink just a tiny bit, and then I wear the leather pants mostly when I work out, so when you get them, that they're stretched out again. So
sweat filled.
in the mix, I'm going to do something that's never been done before.
Oh,
because one of these movies I know you're going to say probably next. I'll let you have it just because I'm a gentleman.
Okay.
This is the first time ever.
Okay.
I'm going to actually put two movies simultaneously into the mix as a pair, and they're not. It's not a sequel or anything.
Well, I didn't run this by me.
I didn't run it by you.
All right.
So here we go. These two movies deal with a young man dealing with a lot of different emotions. In one instance, it's a young man dealing with the divorce of his family and dealing with a sort of a new boyfriend, almost possibly stepfather, and his relationship and how it's changing with his mother. The other one is about a young man who is trying to become an adult. What is he going to do about college? What's he going to do about a career, young love, and all of that? But they both actually deal with summer theme parks. And one of them, I think, is sort of an underrated film. A lot of people knock it because of Kristen Stewart, but it's Adventureland.
Yep.
Which
Jesse Eisenberg.
Correct, with Jesse Eisenberg,
It's a good movie.
Yeah, a great performance by Ryan Reynolds in more of a, I guess, not a dramatic role, but he definitely plays a little off type.
Yeah.
But it's a great ensemble cast. You have great cameos by Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig as the people who run the park. And then you have Martin Starr, who right now is doing a great job as Guilfoyle on Silicon Valley. So I wanted to mention that one to kind of put it in the mix. But the one I actually like more than that is The Way Back, which I recently had just seen a couple years ago. And that one, I know it flew under a lot of people's radars. And it's the reason I like it is you're following this young kid named Duncan. He's going on summer vacation with his mother and her new boyfriend, played by Steve Carell, in a very atypical role for him. He's playing basically just a dick. He's a full of himself boyfriend who wants to basically get in Toni Collette's pants, and he doesn't like that she has kids. He's just dealing with it. And Duncan kind of goes away from that, and he finds this Water Whiz water park that's run by Sam Rockwell, who is sort of, it's hard to describe. He almost as if, I don't want to say if Robert Downey Jr. ran a water park, but it's kind of like that. But Sam Rockwell runs this water park with these crazy characters. It made me want to work at a water park over the summer. And I love this movie. It's a water park. It's summer. There's great comedy, but the reason I like it is there's a lot of dramatic elements that are infused into it. It was written by Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, and they also directed it and also have cameos in it. And if you remember them, they actually won the Oscar for The Descendants. And Jim Rash was the one who did, actually both of them did that joke where they like leaned their foot out when they won the award to make fun of Angelina Jolie that year.
Oh, right.
Because remember, her leg was coming out of the slit. And Jim Rash you might recognize mostly from Community as the dean. But I really wanted to put this one in here because I think it's sort of an underdog. Steve Carell is really good in it. The whole opening of the movie just sets the tone. They're in the car. Duncan, the lead character, is in the way back, which means the back of the station wagon. And Steve Carell, I'm going to paraphrase, but Steve Carell just says, "Hey Duncan, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "What kind of person are you? Between 1 and 10?" And Duncan goes, he's kind of an anxious, insecure kid, and he goes, "Oh, I don't know, a 6." And then Steve Carell goes, "I was thinking more like a 4 or something." It's just like such a dick comment. Yeah. I'm sure I got those numbers wrong. You guys can correct me, but definitely recommend it. There's just some great moments there, and sort of an underdog.
Maya Rudolph is in it too.
Maya Rudolph is actually really good in it too. Yeah, she has like this little romance thing going on with Sam Rockwell. But yeah, those are the two I'm gonna, as a pair there, I'm gonna throw into the mix.
Good. Great, Neal. Sorry. I wanted to make that awkward.
I know exactly what you're gonna go.
Successful. You don't know.
Yeah.
I have 2 more on the list, and
you gotta just throw everything on the board.
Yeah.
let's just throw it all, and then we'll talk about them all.
Yeah.
For the heck of it.
Let me go with another nostalgia movie, actually. This is kind of in the same vein as Stand By Me and Sandlot, made in 1991.
Yep, I know.
It's a movie called My Girl.
Ah.
Directed by Howard Zeif, I'm not sure. My Girl is great. It's another one of those films that is a coming-of-age story. This one centralized around a woman, and I think unlike Stand By Me or Sandlot, this is definitely a more female-centric story because the main character, who is played by, I'm trying to remember her name right now, is
Anna Klumsky.
Anna Klumsky, yes.
Yep. Her mom is very nice. I play drums with her sometimes.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. When I do musicals, her mom's a music director.
Oh, wow.
She's like the nicest woman, yeah.
Well, her she's great on Veep, by the way. But this is her kind of breakout role. I think this is like her film that introduced her to the world.
This is the flume that introduced her to the world.
This is the flume, yep. Her father, played by Dan Aykroyd, who is he a widow or
he's
a
like
widow?
Yeah. And he's like a funeral director,
and he's
right?
a funeral director. So it's a really interesting like setting. They live in a funeral home essentially, and he starts to date Jamie Lee Curtis, and then she's Anna Klumsky.
Anna Klumsky?
Anna Klumsky's befriends Macaulay Culkin, and he has a crush on her, and wants to be more than friends, but they're just friends. So it's a real coming of age story. There's a lot of drama to it. There's a lot of
kind of like an Old Yeller moment.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's some. I don't want to say if you haven't seen this movie. I know a lot of people. I know some people have seen it. Some people haven't.
Yeah, just watch it. It's a
great summertime movie because of the whole growing up, the whole coming of age story, especially with the main character Anna Klumsky. She, is discovering what it means to be a woman and what it means to find her own, find her own path, and to deal with her dad moving on from her mother as well, with the new girlfriend, and the new girlfriend played by Jamie Lee Curtis has a lot of great touching moments where she teaches her how what it's like to be a woman, and how specifically stuff about actually her body and everything. And her relationship with Macaulay Culkin is super sweet, and they have adventures. And I just think it's a great kids movie, but it's not like a kiddie movie, like in the sense that it's like lying about what it is to be a kid. It's a very like without being like the movie Kids.
It's very like mature movie about kids.
It's a very like, and that's why I think when I saw it as a younger man, I thought it was great in that aspect because it was not like pulling any punches. And it is a nostalgic movie. It takes place in the late 60s, early 70s, I want to say, the movie. Another movie that has a great soundtrack. And
that's kind of been a theme today. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think there was a lot of movies in the 90s that took that cue. And then honestly, I'll include two more movies, and then we'll make our, and then you can
forget about me as I do a couple.
Yeah. Okay. And then no one will listen to Neal.
Now, just the fact that Mark's going to add some, I'm going to add some. We're not trying to belittle the movies here. We just don't want to keep you guys listening for 3 hours. But
yeah.
Some of these are actually very good movies that we can talk about. But I think some of the ones Mark's going to say and the ones that I'm going to say, there's not much we can say about them other than what everyone already knows, and that they are great. But go ahead, Mark.
I would say I would throw Wet Hot American Summer on there. Mm-hmm. The movie made in 2001. There is the Netflix sort of sequels, and then there's another one we just were looking at the trailer today. Actually, that's going to be.
That's a surprisingly funny movie.
Yeah,
I had never seen it like last year, and I was like, I'm going to watch this. Everyone talks about it, but it's like really funny.
It's really funny, and I think it was one of those sleeper. It's a cult movie that like definitely I'm assuming did not do well when it came out, and then it's caught an audience since. And the director David Wayne, who's part of that's whole State crew, if you remember the MTV series The State, directed this film, and there's so many funny comedians and actors and actresses in this movie, including Janine Garofalo, including
so many to name, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper. Yeah. Anyone that's from the State, Michael Ian Black, just a great cast, hilarious movie. it's really, really a good take on summer camp from an adult perspective, from the counselor's perspective, and how kind of nutty they are. And it's kind of funny as a kid to like see, like I can imagine as a kid if you actually went to summer camp, like you know getting an insight on to how like sex craved and like and weirdo and weird these people are. It's definitely worth a watch, and even the upcoming the Netflix kind of sequels they've been making are funny too, made by the same filmmakers themselves. So
just really quickly, like Mark said, we'll just throw some going classic movies. You have The Graduate and The 7-Year Itch, both great movies. You got Dustin Hoffman and Marilyn Monroe, kind of a summer movie. Classic Marilyn Monroe scene of her over the air vent with her dress. And then we didn't really talk about American Graffiti, George Lucas film about the last day of summer. That's a great fun one. 3 that I also was going to bring up, it's sort of a trilogy, that's why I didn't include it, but you have the Before trilogy, which is Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and then Before Midnight by Richard Linklater. Those are some of the best movies as far as acting is concerned and directing. I mean, they're basically stripped down. It's 2 people walking throughout different cities the whole time, really, which is what I love. And just the relationship and the acting between Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke is wonderful in these movies. And it has one of my favorite lines. I'm going to paraphrase it, but in the second one, in Before Sunset, Ethan Hawke becomes an author, which isn't really spoilers, and Julie Delpy comes, I believe it's her, or it could be a fan, to his book signing, and it's related to the first movie, and the person, if it is Julie Delpy, I'm sorry, or if it's not, asks him, at the end of your book, the male lead and the female lead that you've fallen in love with and you want them to be together, you don't know what happens to them. And he says a line which I think is apropos for any movie, any book, any piece of art. He goes, well, if you're a romantic, the 2 people get together in the end, and if you're a cynic, they don't. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way, because that movie itself ends in a cliffhanger like that, and you just have to kind of choose your own path. And I know we didn't really talk about Independence Day other than our memory.
Yeah, I just didn't consider it really a summertime movie.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I know it's on July 4th or
yeah.
whatever. But okay, so let's not. We'll put it into another movie, like alien invasion movies. But it is a great movie. One thing that you didn't mention, I'm just going to say, last one to go, other than Weekend at Bernie's, obviously. Heavyweights is a great one.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Stiller, great movie. But the last one I'm going to mention that you didn't, and I'm surprised you didn't, I thought you would have, is Do the Right Thing.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
And I forgot.
Maybe Spike Lee's best movie. I didn't get into it until college. Wrote a couple papers on it, but really sort of captures a hot summer in New York.
Yep.
What the heat will do to people.
Right.
I think sort of the most profound thing about that movie, which is very evident in cities like Chicago, LA, New York, when it gets hot outside, tempers flare.
Yeah, violence happens.
Yeah. Things happen. Awesome performance by Danny Aiello, by Spike Lee himself. Just a as Mookie, yep. Yeah. Just a really good movie, very serious movie, but well done. And I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that one.
Yeah, that's a great mention. I had forgot about that, and we had discussed it, but it's definitely worthy of the summertime movie conversation. And I would agree with you. It's probably Spike Lee's best film. If nothing else, it definitely encapsulates some of his best directorial touches.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's him at his where he's not. He is an indie filmmaker at heart. He is someone who does what he wants, a trailblazer, I guess. But I feel like this movie is the one where he really kind of let his freak flag fly.
Yeah, and it still is controversial. I mean, even now, the movie came out in what, 89?
Yeah, or 91 maybe.
But the ending of the movie with I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it, but Radio Raheem.
Oh, 89. You're right. Sorry.
I'll just say Radio Raheem has an incident, and it sets off tempers, and tensions rise, and violence happens, and it's one of those endings that I think especially a lot of white people that seen the movie were like, well, that's not great. Like, how does that, like, it's not a movie that's wrapped up. It's it leaves you ambiguous.
It's like a thinker.
It's a little bit like you were just saying. The ending is whatever your perspective is on the situation and whatever side you are on. But it's worth a watch. And there's humor into it. I mean, I don't want to say it's not like a.
No, it's not completely serious.
Interesting characters, and it's a good movie, and it's very colorful. There's something about it that's like they really capture like a very like kind of vibrant, especially a great era of like hip hop culture in general that was very like vibrant and harken back to like a kind of a jazz period too, in some ways. So
the nice thing about it too is the cast, like we were talking about, John Turturro, Danny Aiello, you have Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee, Giancarlo Esposito, who would go on to be Gus Fring in Breaking Bad, Rosie Perez, Martin Lawrence, Samuel L. Jackson. So, and like Mark said, the colors are really vibrant. I think the way they art directed the poster, if you remember some of the old advertising, it looked like chalk that the kids would put on the sidewalk. And that's kind of like what the movie looks like. Everyone almost looks like a kid drew their town in chalk and a lot of different colors. So, great film. Great one to put into the mix on the board. Should we deliberate?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
And we'll be back.
And now it's time to announce the best of the best.
We deliberated and we have our list, and we're about to reveal who the best of the best is. But first, we have to mention our 6 and 7 spot, otherwise known as our Steve Kerr,
Tony Kukoc.
Yep.
Yeah, we've learned.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr, Tony Kukoc. We've gotten your letters.
We always find it hard to make a top 5 list and then ultimately a best of the best, but that's what we have to do here. That's our mission. But we would
it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
But we would be remiss if we didn't mention these two films. At number 7, in the Steve Kerr spot, Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. We just mentioned it at the very end, and I think it's worth note. I think in the context of all these films, I think it's worth putting in the in the list, given basically everything that we've already discussed about it and its place in sort of summertime films. Because I also think because it's not quintessential in terms of like a vacation movie or something like that. It deals with a more sort of deeper subject and is profound still to the day. So.
Yeah, and at number 6, we wanted to put in a movie from a more recent time period. So we actually, kind of surprisingly, if some people are a little shocked, but we went with The Way, Way Back. We just think it's a solid movie. It's not breaking records, winning a ton of awards, but it's just one of those summer movies that you can watch over and over again. And Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, who co-wrote and directed it, did a really nice job with this one. And there's just some really great performances that. And a great setting at the water park that really make you feel like it's summer. So I don't know. Should we kick it to the movie trailer guy?
Yep.
Kick it.
Number 5.
Vacation, or National Lampoon's Vacation. We wanted to put this in the top 5. It's a quintessential summer vacation movie, a quintessential road trip movie. Hilarious. Chevy Chase is hilarious. The whole family is great. It sets up a franchise of sequels that aren't all great, but are pretty funny, including European and the Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, this one took a little bit more chances, I think, which was fun.
Yeah, so perfect spot at number 5.
Number 4.
Stand By Me, directed by Rob Reiner. Like we said, the story of the 4 boys who set off to find a dead body and in turn discover things about themselves they didn't know, some of the sort of more darker parts of their upbringing. And I think it's just a beautiful movie that's timeless, and it also reminds me of how great River Phoenix was, especially as a child actor, and how tragic it was that he met his demise way too soon. But I think it's worth watching. It's a great summertime coming-of-age film, which a lot of these that we mentioned are. This one being a little more profound than others. And I think it's great at number 4.
Number 3.
Dirty Dancing. We put this one in here because we discussed while we were deliberating, or it's basically the same thing. While we were deliberating, we were talking just about how underrated Dirty Dancing is and how great of a love story it is, how great of a coming-of-age film it is, which is really an interesting theme. A lot of these movies that take place in the summer, like we said in the beginning of the episode, are coming-of-age movies. It's about a time of discovery, a time of change, of growing out of your cocoon, turning into a butterfly, all that good stuff. Dirty Dancing is not only a great movie with a great soundtrack, a great romantic comedy, romantic drama, I should say, but it sheds light on, like we said, on subjects and subject matter that were important now as much as they were in the 80s. And I just think it's a film that will stand the test of time. I think it's one that's very entertaining, but has some commentary and important things, on the underside of it. So really like Dirty Dancing, and we wanted to make sure it was in our best of the best, and it's at number 3.
Number 2.
The Sandlot. So we talked about this one being a picture of what it means to be a young boy. Sorry. This is like where we're getting hungry. All right. The Sandlot. It came down to a lot of discussion for the final 2 here, but The Sandlot really represents sort of a day in the life of what it means to explore and enjoy a summer. You have baseball, you have a great soundtrack, you have the Wendy Peppercorn storyline, you have this one kid who just wants to belong, who wants to have friends, finding friends that he'll have for life, which they do end up showing at the end of the film. And it's just one of those movies, and James Earl Jones we forgot to talk about in Hercules. So many great moments. It really makes you feel like you're a kid and you're enjoying summer, and not too many movies do it as well as this one.
At number 1, the best of the best is...
Jaws. I don't know what else to say about this movie that hasn't been said either on this podcast or in the zeitgeist in general. But like we mentioned at the top, this movie not only is a summertime-based film, but it is the film itself has catapulted the whole industry of summer blockbuster films. So it's number 1 in my book and in Neal's book, obviously. And I think there's really no debate for us in that regard. And also, it's one of those things that kind of starts off a whole career of our for Stevie Spielberg, as I call him,
Steven Spielberg,
which is still flourishing to this day. So yeah, number 1 with a bullet for me is Jaws.
Yeah, it's undeniable. I don't really even want to go any more in depth about this movie. There's documentaries you can watch. There's books written about it. It's evident why it is a success. It's a movie I watch every summer, and now I am jonesing right now to actually go watch it. It is a story of a simple man who doesn't like to go in the water and has to defend an entire town against a imposing force. But all I will say is Mark upset me a little bit in the deliberation. I did want to put Monsieur Hulot's Holiday as number 1. Mark slapped me, and then I was back to normal. So,
well, first you said Sister of the Traveling Pants, which, by the way, I need those pants.
All right, I am taking my pants off right now.
Okay.
But thanks guys for listening. Feel free to hit us up on social media. Our movie trailer guy is going to tell you where to hit us at. And like we said, reach out more, get us reviews to win that T-shirt, and tell us what you thought of this episode. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, just give me those pants. All right, thanks for listening, guys. All right. Bye.
Smile, you son of a...
Thanks for listening. If you think we've missed any of your favorites, message us on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @bestofbestpod and include your own top 5 by using the hashtag BOTB. We ask that you rate, review, and subscribe to Best of the Best on iTunes or your preferred podcast app. Have ideas for show topics, opinions, or just want to say hello? Send us an email to bestofthebestpod@gmail.com. Till next time, special thanks to Radar Studios and long live Don Hogue.